Studios.
Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. This is another fixture in our Sunday Minisode series where I talk to you about your ghost stories. For this Minisode, I spoke to Ryan from Portland, Oregon. Ryan told me all about the experiences that he's had living in a haunted apartment. And if you can believe it, he still lives there. Here's the call.
Hello.
Hi, is this Ryan?
This is he.
Hi, Ryan. This is Sarah from Laughing in the Dark. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. What are you up to today? It's Saturday.
Oh, not much. Just not much. Just relaxing. Just hanging out. You know?
All right.
It's
Good
been
deal.
a busy work week, so I'm just kind of lounging around.
Oh, isn't that the best? Okay, so you have a ghost story for me. Is that right?
I do. Well, yeah, I do. It's okay. So a little bit of background about me. I've been trained, like my undergraduate's in mathematics, my master's degree in statistics. I've been trained to think very logically, right? I mean, that's just kind of how that's what you do when you do these programs. And I've always been kind of in the level set mind thinking of like, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So, when I sent my initial story to you guys, I think it was her name's Star. She came back and said, well, she doesn't share anything with you, you know. So
Yeah.
I kind of gave some backgrounds, about like throughout my story, and I started writing this thing, and I was like, shit, I'm writing a novel here. So I cut it off. And, but it kind of like, as I went through it, it was, kind of background about myself and why, just kind of the things that have happened around here, why I can say confidently that I'm probably not crazy. And so on top of having that kind of background as far as, being very focused, being very detail oriented, I have like clinically diagnosed OCD, meaning like, when I do things, sometimes it's these routine tasks that make my life hell, like putting things in a certain place. But that's just, it speaks further to some of the stuff that's happened around here, why it makes it like not seem logical to me,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. My dad had
so like
OCD.
if I know like everything, everything in my oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say my dad had OCD too, so I might have it. My dad thought I had it too, but I know what you mean about how you really pay attention to extra little details that maybe other people don't care about or don't notice, but they bother you.
Yeah, and like everything has its place. If I put something, and this will kind of play into the story as I get into it, but
Okay.
if I put something, on my nightstand, say, it goes in the same place every time. I don't have clutter in my apartment. I'm a very clean person. Everything is kind of orderly. My dad's from Germany, so I grew up in this very strict kind of German household where everything had to be in order and clean and this and that. And and I'm only giving you that kind of background just as to say, like, I think some people may overlook some of the stuff that's happened, but for me, I'm very cognizant of what happens. Plus, I live alone. There's nobody else in my apartment, so it's just me.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's just me. But, so that's kind of just like a kind of like a prelude to the story, just to kind of give you some insight of like who I am, and that I'm not just saying, hey, I want to talk about something that I possibly made up or stuff. And also I preface this too, is like, there could be things that have happened that there could be a slim margin for like a reasonable explanation, right? And as I get into this stuff, it's possible. but going, kind of reliving the things, and when they happen, it my mind starts wondering more and more. So, yeah. So that being said, I don't know how should we start this? How do we do it?
I think you already did. I'm intrigued. I am in the game. I'm ready to hear your story.
Okay, yeah. So I'll kind of just start from the beginning. I moved here in 2015 in November, and for a job, and it's healthcare, blah blah blah, typical programming corporate job, and I didn't have that. It didn't leave me much time to find a place. And I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, like here, and that's a small town, small blue city in a very large red state.
And now you live in Portland, Oregon, correct?
Well, right, and yes, so I came to Portland because I grew up in Phoenix and in Scottsdale, and it was always sunshine, it was always hot, it was always, I kind of grew to not like the sun growing up there. And so like coming up here, most people are, oh, I can't wait till it's sunny, this is so great. And I'm like, oh, I think I can play along, and especially if it's like a high-level person at work, and I just have to go along with it. But in my mind, I came up here for the clouds. I love cloudy days. Like today, looking outside, this is heaven to me, like, waking up to these kind of days.
That's so funny. No, I get it, though, because, so I'm from Metro Detroit, Michigan. And so where I'm from, we get lots and lots of snow. And it's kind of like you. Like, I've been through so much snow that I hate the snow now. I'm done. I am absolutely done. So if it snows at all here, I'm like, absolutely not. I'm the biggest drama queen about it. So I mean, I get it. For you, it's the sun. For me, it's the snow. But yeah.
Same principle. Too much of anything can it can lead to and when I lived down in Arizona, I would always see people from the Northwest moving down there, and I used to live in Seattle many years ago, and it was kind of like this inverse trade where people was like, I had enough sun, you can take it, I'm going to the clouds, and so that's kind of what led me to Portland, and I like the sense that it's a small enough city, and I mean it's quaint enough, not too large, and I'm not a Californian, so I can't be completely hated. But I came up here for work, and so I came up here and I had limited time to find a place. I essentially had a couple phone interviews and then got the job, and without even seeing who I was going to work for. It was really strange. And I started looking for places to live, and I had a couple of buddies from graduate school that already moved up here. And what my point to that is Flagstaff's very similar to the culture of Portland, and that's why I wanted to come up here. But it's just Portland with jobs. Flagstaff's like a Portland without jobs, And so I came up here, and I started looking for places. And I had limited time. I had to move everything. I was getting stressed out. So I found one place, and I started asking around it, and the Hawthorne neighborhood is where I kind of started honing in on. It was close to work, and it was nice. I was kind of like looking at some screen captures of the neighborhood. And then so I found a place, and the selling point is I'm a big soccer fan, and there was a pub down the street. So I was like, I'm doing it. I can walk down to my soccer pub. I have everything I need, and I ended up moving here, just, kind of pulling the trigger and saying, let's do it. I get the lease going, do the drive, it's a 24-hour drive to get here, and bring all my stuff. And of course, my luck, all of my stuff was being shipped by a company from where I work. It didn't get here for 2 weeks after I got here, so I had to go buy clothes and all that stuff.
Wow.
But anyway, that's I was sleeping on the ground, and I had to start a new job. It was really, really stressful, but I was like, okay, whatever. I'm here. I made it. This is good.
Sure.
It was a big
new
trip.
Chapter. Yeah.
New chapter. So I recruited a buddy of mine who's a lawyer from down in Phoenix. I went down there and picked him up because he used to live in Newburgh. And he moved back to Phoenix when I was moving up here, but he's like, hey, I'll join you for the ride. So we come up here and crossing the Hawthorne Bridge, I remember this is after, we broke it up into two 12-hour days of driving. And we saw a guy on a unicycle crossing the Hawthorne Bridge. It was like 9 o'clock at night. He's like, yep, this is what you're getting. I'm like, because, Arizona, completely, not like this at all. So I was like, okay, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. It's great.
Yeah.
And we parked, everything, and kind of settled in. So I
Was it the
looked to my right. I
Unipiper?
remember.
Is that who you saw?
Pardon me?
Was it the Unipiper?
Oh, it wasn't that guy. No. I have not seen that guy in person yet. But there was just some random guy in a unicycle. It was just crossing. Maybe it was his off hours where he didn't have like the Darth Vader.
I don't think the Unipiper is ever off the clock. But no, that's awesome.
That's
all right, good deal. So you're very much like, okay, this is Portland. I got it.
Oh, it was great, and it was sprinkling that night, and I was like, yes, this is what I want, and immediately driving into the city, it was just, I had this overwhelming feeling of like feeling at home. I moved around a lot in my life, and used to live in Denver, and used to live in Santa Cruz, California, Seattle, blah, 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 and this place immediately just felt like home.
Oh, good.
So we get in, and it was nighttime, we're like, okay, first thing we need to do, let's go get some drinks. So we brought up what I had in my car, and then went out to have a couple drinks, and it wasn't until the next morning. So just mind you, when I was looking for places to live, I only had street views of the apartment buildings or whatever, nothing really I didn't really think to do a 360 view. So when I moved into this place, the next morning I woke up and my apartment is right on Hawthorne.
Nice.
Right on Hawthorne. And across from me directly is this big building. And I'm like, oh, what's that? So it turns out, and I'm fast forwarding a little bit, my friend left, and I'm getting into the moving process. I was in the elevator with one of my neighbors at the time. I was like, oh, what's that building over there? And she's like, well, that's Holman's funeral home. And she's like, oh, don't worry, you only see smoke come out of the chimney every so often. I'm like, and she was kidding, of course, but like, oh, okay, so that's what that is. So my window looks like square at their front door of Holman, and it's just this big funeral home. And I'm never, that doesn't deter me. Like some people kind of get freaked out, but I'm like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice, the architecture is pretty cool. And so anyway, things come in, my apartment gets starting to get settled, and I'm kind of getting situated here in Portland. And the first thing that I noticed, the first instance of anything noticing, I have a junk drawer in my kitchen where I keep my mailbox. I don't keep it on a keychain. I just run down to the mailbox and get my mail, and then I'll put the key back in. And this was the first, my allusion earlier to my meticulous way of putting things back. So I put the mailbox key into the junk drawer, and I always put it the same way every time. It's always the little ridges on the key face up. The key goes in the junk drawer, and I shut the drawer.
Uh-huh.
And I started noticing over time that the key would be flipped over, not like turned. It wasn't like you take the key and turn it 360 degrees or 180 degrees, I should say. The key was actually flipped over.
Uh-huh.
The only way that would happen is if it was flipped. Like the ridges were now upside down. And I tried to replicate that, like being a man of science. I'm like, I'm going to prove that I can do this. I can do this again. And I take a drawer, and even if I slammed it hard, no, the key, nothing's flipping in the drawer. I mean, there's not enough force.
Flipping over. Yeah, that's like a, yeah.
Yeah, there's not, it's just, that can't happen, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen. And I noticed this on several occasions. This happened quite a few times. And so time passed, but I just had it in the back of my head, and I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So, at this time I was dating a Vietnamese girl, and I know within some of the Asian cultures they say, like, oh, well, spirits can get attached, like they'll attach to you.
Wait, at this time you said you were dating the funeral director's daughter? Is that what you said?
No. She's a Vietnamese girl.
Oh, a Vietnamese girl. Okay.
And yeah. I was dating a Vietnamese girl, and in her culture, she was saying that spirits would attach themselves to you. And I never really thought of it that way, but I was kind of like, she's like, you live across the street from the mortuary. Maybe there's a spirit that's attached itself to you somehow, and because I told her about this, and again, I'm very meticulous about things. So one day we were walking down in Hopkins and we went to college books, and I love that place because they have weird little knickknacks, and I picked up, and I sent a picture of this little guy to Star. It's a little nightlight that was imported from China, and it's this little guy kind of like crouched over, and I put it on my nightstand, and when it gets enough light, at night it'll turn on, and it's about probably 6 inches tall, and it's just this little weird looking humanoid thing that's kind of creepy, but I like it. And I keep it on my nightstand, and so this is when things started really kind of kicking in. I keep it facing parallel to my bed, meaning it's looking at the wall that I'm looking at when I'm sleeping, right? So it's pointing in the same direction as if I was laying down parallel to my bed. And it always stays that way. Again, this is alluding back to my OCD and how everything has its place and it's just how it is.
Yeah.
So one particular morning I woke up and, I tend to sleep on my back, but this morning I was on my side, and this guy has turned not like halfway, but it was like an exact 90 degrees, meaning it was pointing right at me, looking at me.
Ew.
And I tried to play it off, and the girlfriend at the time would say, well, maybe you, in your sleep, you turned it or something. I'm like, well, if I'm sleeping, I don't think I'm going to have the mindset to put it in a way that's exactly 90 degrees looking at me.
Right.
It was
like maybe your hand would like
perfectly
flick it or something, but you're not gonna.
Correct. But it wouldn't be like, if it did, it may be, I don't know, 15 degrees or 40 degrees, but this was just a turn of 90 degrees, so it was facing me. And I'm like, okay, so that coupled with the keys, now I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I'm really going to open my mind up a little bit to this. And so things have, some time has passed. I've been in this apartment for 3 years now, and I love it. I love the location. I still like the place.
Yeah, Hawthorne is great.
Yeah, with the exception of the rent price, I love it. But absolutely, it's just beautiful around here. It's easy to get to things and conveniences and all that stuff. And some time has passed, and at this point I was dating a different girl, and we got to a point where I think she came over, and this is a whole aside, but she came over one time, and we kind of like broke it off, and this is after talking for a long time, drinks and stuff. But it was like it just wasn't going to work. It was just like, and I was kind of thinking about my ex at the time, so it was, and this is kind of around, I would say, December of 2017, and at that point in time, it's dark early. And there was, I remember I was going to get Korean barbecue, and I was leaving my place. Oh, Korean barbecue is so good.
So good.
I love it so much. And so, this was kind of getting my mind off of this girl that kind of came into the picture, and I was going to go out with the ex, with her sister and her niece, and just kind of do like a family thing. Let's go get some Korean barbecue, become fat asses, and just eat a bunch of food. And I distinctly remember leaving my apartment and turning back and looking out the window and saying, "Oh yeah, it's dark." It's gotten to that point where it's dark early. Yeah. And so meaning my apartment was dark. I had that distinct thought in my head, looking back and saying, "Yeah, it's dark." And shutting the door, locking it. I, of course, with bringing up the OCD again, I religiously locked my door, checked the lock 4 times, and I do that just because the tick in my head, so I know every time I leave my place, I lock my door.
Right.
And I know in this particular event, all the lights were off. And I left. I went, had the Korean barbecue, everything was great. And I come back home, and I come into my apartment, and the kitchen light was on. And I couldn't explain it because first of all, I never use, it's one of those really ugly kind of like halogen lights that I always have these other lights I turn on. I never use this light. It's not something I would ever use just because it's really bright and ungodly, and I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And it was on. And so this is where I say, okay, that's not cool. And that other girl I was dating there's a bar down in the building downstairs. She was in that bar, and she said, well, I drove by and your light was on, and and I tried like messaging you or whatever. So this is where I think, okay, well, possibly, what if this girl's crazy and she broke into my place?
Oh.
But there's no way she could have got into my place. She didn't have a key. All my keys are accounted for. Like I said, I keep and plus I didn't, I was very mindful of that too. After the brief time that we had together. And so she couldn't get in. I mean, there was no way she could have got in unless the next day I'm starting to kind of pursue this theory of like, maybe she broke in. I don't know. I called the front office and I said, could you have anybody, would there ever be a time where you guys would let somebody in if they just said, hey, I know this person? She's like, no, they need the owner to check off on that before we could even do that.
Good.
And even like a locksmith, would there be like a locksmith that say a wellness check? And they said, no, they can't just you can't just go and say, hey, I know this person and then have them let you into their apartment. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So, nonetheless, I still had my locks changed. And the guys were over here fixing the locks, and they're replacing them, putting a new one in. And this is when I called this is that conversation I had with the front office. So I'm on the phone with the front office while these guys are putting in the locks.
Uh-huh.
And I tend to pace my apartment a lot, like I'm doing right now as I talk on the phone.
Uh-huh.
And I was telling him I was like, does this kind of thing ever happen? Have you ever had, like, had weird things happen? So at this point, I'm starting to bring that kind of topic up.
Uh-huh.
And the woman's like, no. And as I'm saying that, so I tell her the story of the little figure. I was like, yeah, well, I had this weird time where this figure kind of looked. And I'm doing as I'm doing now. I'm going into my bedroom, and I look at the figure, and it's been turned. It was turned. Or I was on the phone. Like, I didn't see it happen, but, like, again, I always keep it parallel to my bed.
Right.
And when I walked in, as I was telling her the story, it was turned 90 degrees perfectly towards my bed. And these guys are fixing the locks right here, and I'm shit myself. I was like, all right, guys. So that event.
And like, meanwhile, you don't want to look crazy either, so you're kind of like, or at least that's how I would be. I don't know how, like, what extent. I mean, I'm open about this because, I mean, people know that I'm a little eccentric with my personality and my personality type, but I'm not. I'm very, like I said, I have a very trained background. I'm very analytical and things, and I'm not just making this shit up. Right, yeah.
So, so I kind of kept it under wraps. I didn't, whatever. And wow, it's happening again. And again, all of these things have happened over the time span of 3 years. So it's not like this would happen all the time. And so at this point, my ex and I were kind of seeing each other again. And she's like, you need to tell it to go away. You need to just say, look, go away. You can't, that's the only way it's going to leave you alone. And so I kind of like, I was thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, I'll just sound crazy if I'm just talking to my apartment, So fast forward a few more months, and I'm sleeping at night, and all of a sudden we start hearing fire alarms in the building, right? And there's like a malfunction. I don't know. Or is it something else? But there was one night in particular where the fire department was called out 3 different times.
Whoa.
I was like, I'm not going, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning on a work night. I'm not going to shuffle down.
You're like, I'm going to burn with this building.
Yeah, well, so the first time I was a little worried about it, but then I just kind of blew it off. I see the fire department come. I see all the people shuffle out. And then the fire department does what they do. They come and then shuts it off. Everyone comes back in. About an hour later, it happens again. You see everyone come out. Fire department comes again. And then everyone, and I'm just watching out my window because I can see everyone out lined up on the sidewalk. And then they come back in, and then I go to bed. It happens the third time.
Oh my God!
Everyone shuffles out. The fire department's like, "F you guys, we're not coming back."
Oh,
so then,
yeah.
The building had somebody come in, replace whatever it was, and things were cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought. So fast forward about a month. and I'm sleeping, and I distinctly remember it's about 1:42 or 1:43 in the morning, and I get jolted out of bed by the fire alarm. And I'm like, God, this is getting ridiculous. This is getting bullshit.
Yeah.
I look outside, expecting to see everyone file out. No one's filing out. I'm like, okay. So I kind of look in the hallway. No one's coming out of their apartment. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I go down to the lobby. It's silent. It's dead. But I can hear the fire alarm from my apartment. So out of nowhere, only my apartment, the fire alarm goes off at 1:42 in the morning, and no smoke, nothing. And it's both fire alarms. I had one in the bedroom and one in the hallway, and they were both going on. And I called I called the building. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? They're like, well, we're not coming out there. So I had to yank these things out. You unscrew the fire alarm. I had to unplug it, both of them, and I said, maybe they're defective. This is again going back to I don't know. Maybe this is me. Maybe it's just a bad product. Who knows?
Right.
Both of them at once. I don't know, but it could be possible. So they drop off brand new ones in the package the next day, and I go in and I put them in. Right. I screw them in, and if you've ever put a fire alarm onto a ceiling, you place it in, and then you screw it because it has like a hole and then a smaller slot where the screw will stick onto, right?
Yeah,
so it's firmly in place,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, good. After that, nothing else happens. And fast forward almost a year now. So I'm like, so let me just rewind. After that instance, the fire alarm instance, then I started having the conversation. I said, you know what, this may sound crazy, but I walked around my apartment and said, look, whatever you are, I'm cool with things. You're okay to be here. You can't, when I'm trying to work and you screw up the light, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I said, I got to wake up and go to work.
I feel like most people are like, get out of here, spirit. And you're like, look, I just have to sleep for my job. Like, I don't give a fuck if you want to be here. I just need to sleep. Do not fuck with my sleep. I feel like I can relate to that heavily. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was totally one of those things where it's like, it hasn't really been something that's I don't really get the chills around here. Sometimes I creep myself out, I feel.
Yeah.
And I keep my blinds open. I'm on the second floor, and late at night, if I come out to get some water or something, it's pretty creepy looking at the mortuary across the street. And I always try to see if there's any shadows moving around and stuff, but I never see anything. But, it's just like, hey, because I've always been interested in the paranormal. It's always been something that kind of fascinates me. Mm-hmm. But until it starts happening, I was like, well, I don't mind it. It's just when I'm trying to live my life, you got to respect those boundaries. And apparently it did. Things stopped for about, like I said, almost a year until about 2 weeks ago. And I had to go to the dentist. It was a Friday. And I had to, I came home for the rest of the day thinking I was going to get some surgery done, but it didn't happen that day. But anyway, I came home and I already got the okay to come home and work from home. So I came home and I'm kind of like, just disheveled thinking, oh, whatever, dentist. And I walked back into my bedroom and the bedroom fire alarm was on the ground. And
I'm on the bed?
Okay. No, it was on the ground.
It was on the ground.
But so this is where I tell you, making mention that I've installed it last time. And when I say that, it's like I know that you have to screw it on, and in order for it to remain solid.
And it's like one of those things that if you want something done right, you do it yourself, so you did it right. Correct.
And so the really creepy thing out of this, though, is when I picked up the fire alarm, I looked at it, and the little thin parts, so it showed that I did screw it on. The little thin parts, the plastic was stretched as if something yanked it off the ceiling.
Oh, my God.
And yeah, that for me it wasn't like it just fell. It wasn't like, no, something pulled it off the ceiling. So I immediately went down to my office and said, hey,
well, and also,
was there maintenance in here?
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was also just thinking the plastic was stretched. It wasn't broken. A part of it didn't snap off. So you know what's even creepier, Ryan, about that? Is that it's almost like, something pulled it off the ceiling, but they pulled it slowly. if they're trying to if they're stretching the plastic and not snapping it, they're very slowly pulling that down, right?
Yes. It was.
Think about that.
I didn't think. I know. I'm getting chills walking through my place right now. And it's only because thinking about that, like what you're saying. And
Sorry.
I didn't think about it, until in my place is like, oh, just thanks. Now it's just really making me. I'm joking. But yeah, it was like you said. It was something pulled it off the ceiling, and it wasn't just like it didn't fall. I know that for a fact. It was stretched. Yeah, like you said, pulled down. And so I, and this was a couple of weeks ago. So after this hiatus, this came back, and I, went back to the friendly conversation and said, hey guys, hey, I'll just give you a reminder, because with my OCD, putting that thing back in the ceiling was a fucking nightmare. Anyway, yeah. But, and ever since then, things have been cool, but so I started asking bigger questions, like, I wonder if there's like transient spirits that are across the street that possibly come in here and wander through the building and do some mischief and leave. I feel like the one that was here for a while may have been something more, because on top of all just the experiences, there was a physical aspect to it, and I didn't really dive into that part. All the time while all those other things were going on, I was having these tremendous side pains. And I tend to drink a lot of beer, but this was like a sharp pain. And on top of that, my parents come out to visit. My dad visited back in 2016. And one night he said, I give him the bed, and I was sleeping on the couch, and he came out for some water, and he said I was up and very angry because there was like a bag of Cheetos or something. I don't know. And I thought he got into the Cheetos, and I had this look that I was going to kill in my eyes. And he said he was scared. He called my mom and said, we need to talk to him. I've never seen him like that. And just these weird kind of behavioral things, or get these really deep pockets of depression. And I'm typically not a depressed guy. And I would be to the point where I was resorting myself to the bed like all day, and just, and so it was just like an emotional thing too. And that's why I feel like, there's some of the stuff probably could be explained away, but some of the things I was feeling on top of all of that stuff, just the combination of the two, it made it pretty crazy experience.
And with the Cheetos thing, do you remember that?
No, I have no recollection of that.
That's what it sounded like when you were telling the story.
Yeah, I don't remember it at all. And he said he came out, and I don't even eat Cheetos. I don't know why. I mean, we were drinking some beers and smoking and stuff, but but still, like, I don't recall, like, getting that angry. I don't recall. He said that the look in my eyes, he said it was just like I was going to kill. Like, or Cheetos.
Oh,
but
wow. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff.
Well, what's fascinating is that you don't remember that. You know what I mean? That's creepy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's there. Like I said, the depression and stuff. My mind. And I was under a lot of stress at work at the time. Who knows? I feel like that's why I always precaution my experiences here with. I'm sure a lot of this could possibly be explained, but when you start adding up all of the events and adding up everything, it just it starts getting a little bit overwhelming. Whereas it's not just a one-off.
Thanks for calling, Ryan. Stay safe in your spooky place. Do you have a ghost story that you want to tell us on Laughing in the Dark? Email us at litdarkpodcast@gmail.com or write to us in our Contact Us form on our website, litdarkpodcast.com. We may want to feature you on the show. Thanks so much for listening.